YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian, I am going over some Pride recommendations. So it's Pride Month here in the United States, and I know everybody is making Pride recommendation videos, and I wanted to make one too, but I wanted to make one special. Like, what can I do to make it stand apart? For me, I wanted to try to make it a bit of a challenge. So for this video, I have limited the amount of time. So basically, these are all pulled just from books I have read in the past year. So from the time I made my last Pride recommendation video till now. So I only have 1 year to choose from. And not only did I want to limit my time frame, I also wanted to pick books where the main characters are queer. Not just a side character or like some side plot. Main characters are queer. And number 3, my third, challenge here is that all of them have to have happy endings. Because you know what? There's enough tragedy and horrible things in the world. Why add to it? So these are all main characters who are queer with happy endings that I've read in the last year. Let's go. Let's start things off right with The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. This is a FF historical romance and I am completely enamored by it. There's this young woman named Lucy, and she just wants to be an astronomer. And then you have Lady Catherine, who is, trying to settle into her widowhood. And she has all this money, and her husband was this famous astronomer, and they want to, translate his works. And, Lucy shows up, she's like, hello, I'm going to do this. And then they fall in love for real. And I really, really like their whole dynamic of their relationship. It's a little bit of an age gap, not an intense one, but a bit of one. And I really liked that it felt like a real relationship between two women. I didn't think anything was trying to be inserted into the narrative to make it seem more, heteronormative, I guess. It's just very much a romance between two women, and I really enjoyed it. It's cute, and it's heartfelt and dramatic and sometimes funny, and I really, really like it. I think you guys should try this out. Next up, I have Zenny by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This is about Zenny and Mason. They kind of get put together. It's one of those I have to do it because the will type of things. But both Zenny and Mason are bisexual. They've both been in same-sex relationships in the past, and they really kind of explore their shared queerness together in their relationship. So by that I mean things get spicy. It's definitely not for the faint of heart smut-wise, but it's actually a really nice understanding between two people. They're like, yeah, sexuality is sexuality, and I like you and you like me, so let's put our genitals together, I really like this book is so judgment-free of what's happening between two consenting adults, so I think it's really good. It's really, really funny. I rarely tab books, and this one I tab things where I literally laughed out loud because it was like chef's kiss of a joke. So it's funny, it's a rom-com. Zenny and Mason, basically Zenny's great aunt passes away and she goes to clear out the house, and then Mason was also included in the will, and her great aunt, wink wink, kind of puts it in the will hey, you guys should get married. So there you go, and they make it work, and I really like both of them a lot. It's cheeky, it's fun, and it's really just celebrates their shared queerness. It's really fun. Oh, what was that? Did I hear you say you want lesbian mermaids? Well, I have the book for you. This is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. This is an amazing concept. We're following Yetu, who's a mermaid, and this is kind of, I guess, speculative fiction because it's a new way of looking at the mermaid mythos where this was a evolutionary thing. These mermaids are descendants of pregnant slave women that were thrown off the slave boats, and they somehow survived, and they have, evolved into mer people. And honestly, great concept. Already, I'm very intrigued by what's going on here. In particular, we're following Yetu. She is a memory keeper. So there's these mermaids, and they carry all the memories of their people because there's so much trauma there that they have to block it from everyone else's memory so they can survive. So she's the memory keeper. I don't remember how she ends up topside on the surface, I don't really remember, but she ends up there, and then she meets Uri, and two women, and they kind of just fall in love, and they go off and have underwater sea adventures, and like, what? I love it! This does delve into bigger societal issues, dealing with race and sexuality and all of that, but, you know, also mermaids and speculative fiction. So it's doing a lot here and also centers around an FF relationship. Let's go with a little bit of sci-fi. So I have A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe by Alex White. Basically, I just want to recommend the whole trilogy for many reasons, one of which a lot of the main characters are bisexual, queer, asexual, just all kinds of sexualities are just in the main characters of this crew of found family of misfits. It's wonderful. My favorite couple here is Nyla and Orna, and they're very different. The women, Nyla is kind of a race car driver, and Orna was like a child who grew up in the fighting pits. Very different people, but they both wind up on this crew of misfits who are trying to save the galaxy from evil space wizards. So yes, I love it already. You had me a space wizard, and I'm staying around for the FF romance. And I mentioned briefly earlier, it also has ace representation, and it's actually really thoughtful and like a complex character who's one of the main characters of the crew. Completely asexual, and that's okay. Everybody accepts it. It's really cool. So it has a lot of different types of sexualities in the main characters of this book, and the slightest of spoilers here, Nyla and Orna, they're good. They get married and they're happy. And so la la la, whatever. Who cares if that's a spoiler? It's just a happy thing to know. But yes, it's a really, really great series. It has space wizards. Please read it. Let's throw in some more sci-fi while we're at it. So I have Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is an MM sci-fi romance. It's kind of like a very dramatic sci-fi version of Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which I love, which is like, it's a great rom-com. And this one, kind of similar characters. You have a very, you know, wild devil-may-care kind of prince, and then you have this other guy who's like a very serious prince, and they have to get married for like, you know, political alliances, and then they do, and then they find love for real. So this book also delves into some really dark, emotional material, especially with Jainen's story arc. He's the more serious of the two princes, but he's also dealing with a lot of past trauma from abusive relationships. So there's a lot going on emotionally speaking, and then politically speaking, there's a whole other thing going on, and there's like intrigue and assassination attempts and all kinds of craziness. And I really like Kiam. He's the devil-may-care prince, and he's hilarious at times. He's great. I don't know. It's like a good odd couple combination, and they make it work, and they fall in love, and it's really nice to see them end up together. Here's a new book. It just came out. I actually haven't reviewed it yet on this channel, but I am obsessed with it because I just finished it, so you're getting a sneak peek. I read In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland, and hot damn was this amazing. Oh my gosh, 5 stars. This is about a pansexual blood mage named Roven, and she has to save the world from dying by inciting a rebellion amongst the dead and the living. So, I mean, realistically, you had me at pansexual blood mage. You don't need to say anything else. I already want to read this. And then you have all these wicked cool fantasy elements. You have, like, necromancy and, like, blood magic and, like, all kinds of political intrigue and trauma and like growing out of that and becoming a better person and polyamory. You guys, there's a throuple, and I'm into it. I dig it. I'm glad they're all polyamorous. It kind of just goes with their society. Queerness is just, it just is. It's not like a thing. People just do it or they don't. No one cares. It's kind of just casual. So I kind of like that in the part of this world, even though there's also, you know, death magic. So it's a very dark world, but they got some things right. So, you know, they're doing what they're doing. But anyway, I don't want to say more about it yet because I am going to give this a full review in my mid-month wrap-up, but that's just a sneak peek. This is fantastic. Go out and buy it. Just do it. You'll thank me later. Another recommendation is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This is a debut, and honestly, Aiden Thomas is now like an auto-buy author for me. they're just incredible. This one in particular, we're dealing with brujeria, which is, Latinx witchcraft, and in particular, kind of Santa Muerte, and we're following Yadriel, who is a trans boy who wants to be a brujo. And there's very strict gender roles in the brujeria of this book. I don't really know about brujeria in real life, so I don't want to say that's how it is, but that's how it is in this book, at least. Very strict gender roles. Yadriel has so much heart and passion that you can't help but root for him. He's just so plucky and wonderful and like really heartfelt and gives his all for everything. He's truly like the hero character. And Yadriel kind of gets himself into a pickle because he accidentally summons the ghost of this guy named Julian, and sparks fly. They kind of end up being boyfriends, and he's a ghost. So how are these crazy kids gonna work it out? But it's really, really fun, action-packed. It's a one and done. You don't have to wait for the next book. And it's so fun. Queerness is just celebrated throughout the thing. I love it. I also have to recommend The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This one, honestly, you could read it in 2 hours because that's how long it took me to read a 300-page book, was 2 hours, because it's actually written in prose. So there's very few words on a lot of the pages, so yeah, you can blow through this real quick. But surprisingly enough, I think it really works best as prose. It's a very long poem, and we're following Michael. He's a mixed-race teen who's coming of age and coming out and discovering his sexuality and what his cultural identity is, and are they the same, and just he's got a lot of shit to figure out. It's actually very poignant and heartfelt, and I don't know, there's this real sense of empathy for Michael throughout this whole book. I don't know how autobiographical this is from Dean Atta, but there's this sense that it gets into your little heart, and you're just like, oh, my little baby, I will protect you from the evils of the world. Like, that's how you feel about Michael. Another cool aspect about this book, Michael discovers drag and has a ball. So there's also drag stuff in here. There's, coming of age, coming out, finding your cultural identity, especially when you're mixed race. There's a lot of things going on here. It works really great as prose, and I love it. Honestly, you can read it in 2 hours. It's worth the couple hours it'll take. I also want to specifically shout out The Name of All Things by Jen Lyons. This is book 2 of the Chorus of Dragons series, and I picked this one in particular instead of the first book because this is the one with the most queer identities. In this book, we've moved on to a new country from the first book. Now we're in Jorat, and the Joratese people have this culture that's based out of very intricate sexualities and gender identities, and everything's just kind of everything at the same time. So like anything goes, and they're just very much open with their gender and sexuality. Like everyone's is a bit gender fluid. For example, let's go with our main character, Janelle. She refers to herself as a female man. Janelle has a female body, is okay with having a female body, enjoys it, but considers herself a man culturally. And it's a lot like that for everybody in their culture. You can kind of just pick what your gender identity is. There's more stuff coming later on in books, especially with Kieran, our main character, who is a young man questioning his sexuality and kind of like having to realize like, okay, am I gonna let society dictate who I want to make out with, or am I just gonna make out with who I want to make out with? So it's like one of those moments you're just rooting for him so hard. You're just like, oh my gosh, just please kiss. So they do. And again, thruple. Another thruple in this series. Love it. So there's a dash of polyamory. There's just gender fluidness, queer identities all over. It's a really, really intricate world building process, and I highly recommend checking it out. Last up in this list, I have The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is sci-fi, kind of speculative fiction involving like alternate dimensions and realities, like a dash of time travel. Not enough that I don't like it because I just don't like time travel in books, but it works in this book because it's more alternate realities than straight time travel. In particular, following this woman named Kara. She is a interdimensional traveler. And in particular, she's a very, very valuable one because in this world, like the rules of interdimensional travel is you can't go to another universe where you exist, because if you do, it is messy. You will die horribly. And oh man, Kara's alternate reality selves are just really, really great at getting themselves killed. So I think there's only like 4 planets Kara can't go to of the like 300 something there are. So she's in high demand. And there's a lot more going on here with that like concept, but yeah, it's interdimensional travel, looking up bad guys trying to save the world in this dimension and how that echoes over in that dimension. But the cool thing about Kara is that she is bisexual, and in this world, people are just bisexual. It's totally not a thing. It's just casual. And she's low-key in love with her handler, Del. And she and Del keep running into each other's paths in all these alternate dimensions, but it's not this Del, it's another Del. And she kind of feels guilty for having a relationship with this Del when the Del in this universe isn't having a relationship with her. So it's like kind of weird situations here. But ultimately in the end, it's kind of like a emotionally complicated, messy love story. So Del and Kara get together, of course, and it's messy though. It's not like a clear cut, oh yay, we're happy and the world is saved, hurrah. It's like, oh, this is a mess, but it's okay. Love it. Is a good FF romance, also speculative fiction, sci-fi, crazy action stuff. It's got a lot going on. Alright, so those are like a whole bunch of Pride recs, and I feel pretty good about my list. All of them have happy endings, the main characters are queer, and these are all just books I've read in the last like 365 days. These are the books I've read in the past year. I think it's super important to read diversely, whether that is different sexualities or gender ideals or cultures that aren't your own. It's good to expose yourself to new ideas, new ways of thinking, and I feel like it just makes people in general more empathetic to others. So if you're looking for a Pride recommendation and you didn't know where to start, I hope some of these books have caught your attention and there's something you really want to read, because I recommend all of them. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know. Did you pick a book in particular for Pride Month? And if so, what was it? Or if you haven't read a book for Pride yet, which book do you want to read for Pride? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye! Happy Pride!